Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you've had a nice weekend. Mine's been alright, despite a bit of toothache. Oh, hate toothache. But yeah, not a bad weekend at all. But I wanted to share just a few thoughts with you about Audley Harrison. Alright, don't groan. Stop groaning. Because that's what Audley seems to immediately evoke is, people go roll their eyes, oh, Audley, yeah, whatever, and then they slag him off. But he did an interview with IFL TV, was it early last week, I think it was. And it's about 90 minutes long, and I think Kugan Cassius must have asked about 4 or 5 questions in the whole of that 90 minutes, and Audley just rambled. And it was like a stream of consciousness, and it was an interesting insight, or fascinating insight into someone's psyche, the psyche of a man who kind of constructed an identity through boxing, Olympic gold medal winner, and then eventually lost it because of his defeats. But we'll get onto this a bit later, go into this in a bit more detail, but I don't think it was just the defeats, I think it was his manner. Now, I've always thought Audley in one respect, he gets a bit of a rough ride. In another respect, the criticism is completely justified. But as an amateur, he won the Olympic gold medal. Okay, and he beat lots and lots of good men as an amateur. As a professional, he won the European title against Michael Sprott, who was really just a sparring partner for the Klitschko's, and good fighter, Sprott, decent British European level fighter, but finished his career with a lot of defeats, a lot of knockout defeats, and a lot of them in the first round actually. But had a victory over Audley, knocked out Audley, and Audley in the rematch, which was for the European title, was behind on points, had a damaged shoulder, I think it was, but knocked him out in the last round and won the European title. Now, that's not a bad achievement, winning the European title. And he also won a couple of prize fighter contests, which shouldn't be dismissed too sort of, too lightly, because you've got to go out there and win them. And I actually think prize fighter was quite a test for a lot of fighters, because it's only 3 rounds. You've got to get your work done really quick. And that doesn't suit everyone's style. Remember when James Toney came over here? I know he was way past his best, but do you think anyone would have beaten James Toney over 10 rounds or 12 rounds? Anyone in that pack? Nah. But over 3 rounds, yeah, you can get him. So Audley won 2 prize fighters and the European title. That was a sum total of his career as a professional. Okay, it's not bad. Most heavyweights, you'd say, oh, they had a decent enough run. So imagine if Audley, having won the gold medal for England, had been very humble, very modest, very sort of media savvy. In other words, hadn't had a big mouth, and instead had, played to the mums and dads, played to the mainstream, not being the one rocking the boat, not being the one mouthing off saying he was going to rule the world and be the greatest heavyweight since whoever, Ali or Lewis or someone. If he'd done that, he would have had a lot of sympathy, a lot more empathy from the public, who would have, some people would have slagged him off no matter what he'd done. People especially in Britain, like to see people fail, but he would have generally been remembered in a better light, I think. And when he was on Strictly Come Dancing and Big Brother and all those TV shows, people wouldn't have groaned. They'd have gone, "Oh, it's Audley." Imagine if AJ did Strictly Come Dancing. People. I mean, let's say he retired and he did this sort of Saturday night entertainment stuff. People would go, "Oh yeah, AJ, yeah, he's a nice guy." But with Audley, people kind of, "Oh, what are you doing? You're making an even bigger fool of yourself than you did when you barely threw a punch against David Hay." So Audley's mouth. If you're gonna make those statements, if you're gonna have that fat mouth, if you're gonna, blather your self-appointed brilliance at every opportunity, you've got to take the criticism. That's the side of Audley that I think, it does warrant the criticism. You can't set yourself up and run off at the mouth. And, it's the old line about being able to talk the talk but not walk the walk. Well, that brings us to this 90-minute stream of consciousness that he did with IFL TV. Because he zipped from subject to subject. He's got beef with Carl Froch. I don't quite know why. I don't follow. I mean, I'm not on Twitter. I don't follow all that bullshit. I hate Twitter. And there's something going on between them. And Audley was talking about when Froch was an amateur, and there was an incident where Froch was in tears, and Audley gave him Froch's first book on mindfulness or sports psychology or whatever it was, and that, inspired Froch to become the great professional world champ that he was. And Audley at some point said, no one knows boxing in Britain better than I do. I've been with, Emmanuel Stewart, and I've been at the absolute top, and I wasn't a world champion. He kept saying, I'm not, okay, I didn't win a world title. I'm not a Hall of Famer. I'm not a Hall of Famer, but I understand boxing because I've hung out with, all the Cronk crew, and I was an Olympic gold medal. Let's not forget that I was an Olympic gold medal, and I fought everyone. I avenged a lot of my losses, and they stitched me up, and he made some remarks about Frank Warren, which, knowing Warren's track record for litigation, I wouldn't be surprised if Audley found a rip slapping him in the face, but he basically rambled, like I'm doing now, thinking about it. He rambled on about his career, about himself. He kept saying, I'm in a wonderful place. I've rediscovered my life, my love and life of boxing and for boxing. And it was the Wilder Fury 3, fight that rekindled. It was just the best fight I've seen since Ben McClellan, back in 1995. That's going back a bit. How old did that make Audley? In his early teens? I don't know. Anyway. He's going on and on and on about all this stuff. I even mentioned being in the Big Brother house, and how he basically verbally and psychologically slapped James Jordan around, who was taking the piss out of him. And then, anyway, he was going on and on and on about all these different subjects. All of it designed to basically beef himself up and say that he is this underappreciated, strongly overlooked pillar of British boxing, historically, a pillar of British boxing. And he made a remark about, I forget the name of the university now. God, I'm getting old. The sports science, I forgot the name of it. He's saying that should be called the Audley Harrison University. What is it, Lincoln? Oh, whatever the hell it is, I've forgotten it. Anyway. He was saying this should be called the Audley Harrison University. And he also mentioned, if it wasn't for my gold medal, 4 or 5 million quid invested into the boxing program for the subsequent Olympics wouldn't have occurred. Now, a lot of this stuff that he was saying is not necessarily untrue. Some of it is true. But just the manner of how he was talking, and how he was constantly going on and on about it, and desperately, hitting this nail, not with a hammer, but with a mallet, just to sort of bang the point home. I'm down to this. I don't get enough credit. I did this. I did that. I am this. I should be remembered this way. Even if you pick out the bits of truth amidst all the delusion, he's not going to win any new fans, because the best way, history judges you in its own time and on its own dime, you might say, its own time and its own dime, because history will, people will perhaps one day look back and say, historically, they'll say, well, yeah, actually, Audley Harrison did do a lot for British boxing with that gold medal, and he kind of flopped maybe as a professional, flopped in the sense that he didn't achieve what he said he was going to, but yeah, okay, we remember things once the dust has settled. In the cold light of day, we remember things. And the reality sort of, if it sort of bubbles to the top, and we suddenly think, okay, we didn't appreciate that person as much as we should have done. Or what we don't do is warm to people that say, you should appreciate me more because I did this, this, and this. I was on the undercard of Gatti Ward 2. That's how great I was, which is one thing he said. And Carl Froch would have been nothing without me, and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't win people over like this. Now, Audley's always been doing this. From the moment he turned professional, he was mouthing off. But now that he's, what is he now, in his 40s now? I don't know, late 40s, however old he is, you have to ask the question, well, considering he suffered some bad knockouts, Sprott knocked him out in 3, knocked him flat in 3, David Price blasted him out in 1, that was a bad knockout. And Deontay Wilder did him in 1, although that wasn't a clean knockout, it was more of a, more of an accumulation of punches. And the referee stopped it. But you still have to ask yourself, I wonder if this has got anything to do with any damage he sustained during his career. This air of delusion, which, again, you can pick true bits out, you can pick bits out that are true of what he's saying, but there's still an overall air of delusion. And I think it's it's very sad to see. He wasn't slurring his words. On the contrary, he appeared articulate as always, And he has always been an articulate guy. He's an intelligent guy, Audley. He's not an idiot. You can be delusional and intelligent, highly intelligent, just as much as you can be kind of a dunce, but be attuned to reality. Unfortunately, intelligence isn't necessarily some gateway to living in the real world. But it's a shame. I do wonder if he's maybe desperately trying to regain his identity, and doing it in a way that isn't really going to do him any favours. He's always been his own worst enemy in many respects, Audley. It's a shame, because I think actually, if you watched him on some of these Saturday night things like Strictly Come Dancing or Big Brother or whatever it was, he came across as being quite a nice guy. And I think he probably is quite a nice guy in real life. And I think had he been, a little bit more savvy and had a bit more nous about how to handle his professional career, even if he had lost those fights that he did lose, maybe he'd be more accepted now. Maybe he'd be remembered better. And perhaps when all is said and done, and despite all his blather and bluster, he does deserve to be remembered a bit better. He's made a fool of himself at times, no doubt, but I mean, we all make fools of ourselves. We just do it. We don't do it, in front of the world, or at least the nation, and it doesn't go into the history books. A lot of us go through life forgetting certain things. Some people go through life trying to rewrite their own personal history. There is actually an air of that with Audley, I think, in this IFL TV interview. Go and have a look at the interview, see what you think about it. If you haven't seen it already, leave your comments below, and yeah, see what you think. Yeah, poor old Audley. I wish him well, though. I wish him well. Anyway, thanks for your time. Oh, as always, thanks for watching this video. If you're new to this channel and you could subscribe, that would be a big help. Just got over 200 subscribers now, so everyone's welcome. It's an open door policy. Come on in, watch the videos, leave your comments. Appreciate your time. As always, hit the like button if you like this video. Speak to you soon. Enjoy the week ahead. And of course, much love to all of you. Take care of yourselves.